Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, brinkmanship returns to the Middle East, the access economy gets exposed in audio leaks, and Disney pricing proves the middle class is officially canceled. We are looking at a high-octane news day, folks.
And I'm here to look at the second-order effects.
Mhm.
Because, when the headlines are this loud, the real story is usually buried somewhere in the fine print.
Let's get right into the war room. The geopolitical temperature just spiked, and frankly, looking at the feed today, it feels like 2020 all over again. We're looking at a viral clip that's circulating from Mario Nawfal. It's about Iran and President Trump. The situation is, well, it's tense.
Understatement.
Iran's supreme leader is warning that U.S. attacks would spark a regional war. I mean, that is not subtle language. But what's interesting is the response from Mar-a-Lago.
It's the split screen that matters here.
Exactly. You have the supreme leader issuing these dire warnings, and then you cut to Trump. He's seemingly brushing it off, saying, hopefully we make a deal. If we don't make a deal, we'll find out whether or not he was right.
Classic.
It's classic art of the deal phrasing. It's nonchalant, almost dismissive. But while he's talking about deals, I'm looking at the naval charts. We aren't just sending emails. We are seeing major naval assets deploying.
And that is where the rhetoric meets reality. Regional war is, standard escalation language from Tehran. We've heard it before.
Yeah, sure.
But the context Nawfal points out is crucial. There are credible reports that Iran may have already conceded to significant nuclear limits inspections, export frameworks, the works, yet the demand from the U.S. side seems to be shifting from security to total capitulation.
Okay, so that's the confusing part. If they've already conceded on the nukes, why the threat of war? Why keep pushing?
Well, that's the dangerous gambling part.
Yeah.
If you have a counterparty who has already folded on the key issues and you still push for more, you aren't negotiating anymore. You're humiliating them.
Right.
And when you back a sovereign nation into a corner where their only options are war or public humiliation, you make regional war a necessity for them to save face. It creates a corner with no exit. It stops being the art of the deal, and it starts being a game of chicken with nuclear powers.
And while these heavy decisions are being weighed, let's look at where they're being weighed. This isn't happening in the Situation Room in the basement of the White House.
No.
We have a post from Sawyer Merritt showing the scene at Mar-a-Lago last night. It was Dan Scavino's wedding. But look who is walking in the door, Elon Musk and Siobhan Zilis.
Right. It's a wedding, sure. There's cake and dancing. But in D.C. terms, let's be real.
What is it?
This is a cabinet meeting in black tie.
Musk isn't just, the Tesla guy anymore. He's co-leading this Department of Government Efficiency. So when you see him walking into the room where the president is likely discussing Iran, it just feels...
Well, it's not just an observer.
Exactly. It feels like a fundamental shift in how the state actually operates. He's not just some guest.
No, he's a participant. I mean, this is the fusion of state and tech. We've talked for decades about the military-industrial complex. This is the techno-industrial complex. Decisions about war and peace are happening in rooms filled with tech oligarchs, not just generals. And think about the implications. Musk controls Starlink. He controls the satellite communications infrastructure that modern militaries rely on. When he sits at the head table, he's not just an advisor offering an opinion. He is the infrastructure.
That brings us to a really fascinating comparison. We have this new guard of influence Musk walking in the front door, but we got a stark reminder today of how the old guard used to operate. Mike Benz dropped some audio from the Jeffrey Epstein files that is, honestly, it's mind-blowing. It's from 2013.
This is the cynical underbelly of the whole access economy.
Yeah.
It's ugly, but it's instructive.
We hear Epstein coaching Ehud Barak, the former defense minister of Israel, on how to monetize his government favors. He's explicitly telling him how to trade his contacts for board seats. It is a masterclass in corruption. But the part that really stuck out to me was his pitch about tech. Epstein is trying to bridge these intelligence figures to Silicon Valley. He mentions Palantir.
And Palantir is massive. For anyone listening who doesn't know, Palantir is essentially the operating system for modern Western intelligence.
Right.
They do data analytics for the CIA, the FBI, the military. They are the eyes of the state.
Right, they are the big leagues. But in this audio, Epstein spells it out for Barak. He spells it Plentr.
No.
Yes. He couldn't even spell the name of the company he was peddling influence for.
That is the perfect encapsulation of the old way. You have a middleman Epstein who doesn't understand the tech, doesn't get the product, can't even spell the company name, but he holds the keys to the room.
He's a gatekeeper.
He's a toll booth operator. He's selling access, not value.
And then you contrast that with Musk at Mar-a-Lago.
Exactly. Musk doesn't need a middleman. Musk is the tech. He doesn't need an Epstein to make the introduction because he built the rockets and the satellites. The middleman is dead. The tech titans are now the direct operators of state power. We've gone from covert brokers whispering in hallways to overt oligarchs planning geopolitical strategy at weddings.
That is a fascinating and slightly terrifying transition. We've moved from the shadows to the spotlight. Speaking of things that are moving out of reach, let's talk about the economy, specifically the magic of Disney.
Or the cost of it, maybe.
I saw a breakdown from Wall Street Apes today, and honestly, I thought it was a typo at first. A user compared a Disney World trip from 2010 to the exact same trip in 2026. Same hotel, same tickets, same duration. The sticker shock is real.
Okay, give us the damage.
In 2010, the total cost for this family trip was around $1,918. In 2026, it's projected at $4,223.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I know what the defenders will say. Oh, it's just inflation, everything costs more.
Right.
But I ran the numbers. If you take that $1,918 from 2010 and you run it through a standard inflation calculator, the price today should be about $2,800.
So we're looking at a bill of over $4,200 instead of $2,800. That is a massive gap.
It's a huge gap. That's a 120% increase in price against roughly 48% cumulative inflation. The math doesn't lie. This isn't the economy getting more expensive. This is a strategic pricing pivot. Disney is testing the absolute limit of what a consumer will bear before they break.
And it's not just the sticker price, is it? The post highlights the shrinkflation of the experience.
Ah, yes.
Things that used to be included are now stripped out. Lightning Lane, which used to be free fast passes, are now paid add-ons. You're paying $15 to $30 per person per day just to stand in line less.
That's the hidden tax. The base price gets you in the door, but the experience you remember from 2010, the ability to ride the rides without waiting 3 hours, is now behind a paywall.
It raises a brutal question.
Which is?
Is the American middle-class lifestyle, the one where a family of 4 goes to Disney once every couple of years, officially dead? Because at $4,000 for 5 days plus food plus travel, that is exclusionary pricing.
It certainly feels that way. Disney is pivoting from a mass-market brand to a luxury brand like Louis Vuitton, and they just forgot to tell the middle class they aren't invited anymore.
It's creating a class divide in what used to be a universal American experience. Let's pivot to a different kind of monopoly, the data monopoly. We have a post from TBPN covering some comments by Cloudflare CEO Matthew Prince. And he dropped a statistic that should scare anyone trying to compete in AI.
This is the data moat theory confirmed right here.
Prince says that Google's web crawler sees 3.2 times more of the web than OpenAI and 4.8 times more than Microsoft. That is a staggering difference.
Data is the new oil, and Google owns all the drills.
No.
And think about the second-order effect here. Cloudflare helps websites block bad bots or scrapers to save bandwidth and protect content. Every site admin blocks the random AI scrapers from startups because they slow down the site and offer no value. But nobody blocks Google.
Right, because if you block Google, you disappear from search, you commit digital suicide.
Exactly. You can't afford to block them. So we are inadvertently crowning Google the winner. By trying to protect our data from OpenAI or Anthropic, we are leaving the door wide open for Google. They have the historical index of the last 20 years, and they have the live access today. If AI models are built on data, Google is running a race with a Ferrari while everyone else is on a bicycle.
And what are they building with that Ferrari? That brings us to Genie 3. Min Choi shared some clips of this, and it's wild. We're talking 100% AI-generated 3D worlds.
Simulation theory isn't a theory anymore, it's a product roadmap.
The clip shows a fish trying to escape a kitchen, but it's not a video game that someone coded. The AI generated the fish, the kitchen, the physics, and the user interface all on the fly from a simple prompt. It's creating the reality as you watch it.
This is world modeling. It's not just drawing pixels. It understands that a fish flops, that gravity pulls it down, that the counter is solid. We are moving toward a future where media isn't produced by a studio, it's generated in real time for the specific user.
So you don't play Call of Duty?
No, you play a game generated specifically for your mood at that exact second.
That is both exciting and dystopian. It feels like we are losing control of the creative process to these massive centralized models. But is there any escape? Is there a way out of this big tech dominance?
There's always a counter movement.
Well, you posted about a project called Lumen PNP.
The counter movement. I love this stuff.
It's an open source desktop pick-and-place machine. Now, for people who don't know, explain why this matters, because to me, it just looks like a 3D printer for electronics.
It's exactly that, but for assembly. Look, if you're an engineer or a hobbyist and you want to build a circuit board, placing the chips is a nightmare. Modern chips are the size of a grain of rice. You can't solder them by hand reliably.
Okay.
So usually you have to send your design to a factory in Shenzhen or pay a fortune for a prototype house.
So this machine lets you do it on your desk.
Yes. It uses computer vision to pick up the tiny components and place them perfectly on the board. This is the democratization of manufacturing. While Google consolidates the software and the data, the rebels are seizing the means of production literally. If you can build your own electronics in your garage without relying on a massive supply chain, you reclaim autonomy.
The punk rock of the tech world.
That's a good way to put it.
It really is. It's that maker spirit coming back.
And speaking of big visions and building things, let's go back to Musk for a second. Because while he's walking into Mar-a-Lago, he's also tweeting about the philosophy of all this. Nick Cruz-Patayan shared a quote from him. Better to err on the side of being an optimist and wrong.
Optimism as a strategy.
I have to say, looking at the hardware he's building, it's hard not to get swept up in the vision. Tesla owners Silicon Valley posted about Starship moving humanity from a Type 0.7 civilization to a Type 2. Hold on. Let's break that down. Type 2, I know we aren't talking about diabetes here. Break down the Kardashev scale for the listeners.
Right, so it's a scale of energy consumption. Type I is using all the energy on your planet. We aren't even there yet. We're at like 0.7 because we still burn dead dinosaurs.
Right.
Type 2 is capturing all the energy of your star-like building a Dyson sphere around the sun. Musk is saying Starship is the bus that gets us to that Type 2 future. It's inspiring.
It is inspiring. It's a beautiful vision. But I have to put my skeptic hat on here.
Go for it.
Is this optimism just a shield?
A shield for what?
For the massive consolidation of resources we talked about in segment 1. It's easy to sell regulatory capture, government influence, and monopolistic power if you wrap it in the banner of saving humanity or reaching the stars. If you question the consolidation of power, you're labeled a pessimist or a hater.
That's a rhetorical trap.
It's a very clever one. Don't look at my government contracts, look at Mars.
That is a heavy thought. Is the destination worth the concentration of power? That's the question. Let's come back down to earth, specifically the culture wars. The Grammys happened, and we have a moment from Shabuzi. Dom Luker posted the clip. He won for Best Country Duo and dedicated the award to immigrants.
And he said, immigrants built this country, literally.
That was the quote. And the reaction online, predictably polarized. But what stood out to you in the data?
It's the classic Rorschach test of current affairs. You have the historical data. Immigrants have been about 15% of the workforce since the 19th century. That is a fact. But the online reaction immediately splits into legal versus illegal.
Immediately.
It shows how even a moment of celebration, a guy winning a Grammy, a huge personal achievement, becomes an immediate flashpoint. We can't just have a nice moment. It has to be a referendum on border policy. The culture war eats everything.
We struggle with those human moments here in the West, don't we? Everything is political. Compare that to the clip Billy Marcus shared from Japan. A volleyball player, Yuji Nishida, hits a fan with a serve by accident.
And what does he do?
He immediately drops to his knees and bows. A full, deep apology. It wasn't a PR statement. It wasn't a tweet. It was physical humility.
That is omotenashi. It's a deep cultural value of sincerity and hospitality. But it also highlights a massive deficit in our own culture. Accountability.
How so?
Think back to the politicians and brokers we discussed in the first segment. Think about the Disney executives raising prices while cutting services. When was the last time you saw a Western leader or a tech CEO drop to their knees and apologize when they hurt someone?
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. We litigate, we spin, we deflect. Seeing someone just own their mistake and show genuine remorse is so rare that it goes viral. That says more about us than it does about the volleyball player.
It really does. We could use a little more of that energy. And frankly, we could use a palate cleanser after all this heavy news about war and inflation.
Please, give me something good.
Colin Rugg shared a video of penguins at the Pittsburgh Zoo. It snowed, and they are just living their best lives, sliding around, waddling in the fresh powder.
Nature is healing.
And for the tech geeks, Brian Rommel shared a video of the world's biggest RC-747. It's 40 feet long.
Wait, 40 feet? That's not a toy. That's a small aircraft.
It takes off and lands just like the real thing. It's incredible engineering just for the fun of it.
Sometimes the only rational response to a world of nuclear brakemanship and AI simulation is to watch a penguin slide on its belly or a giant toy plane take flight.
Right.
It reminds you that joy is still a thing.
Absolutely. We need to hold on to that. Before we wrap up, let's look ahead. What is your prediction for tomorrow based on these charts?
I'm going back to that Cloudflare data. Google seeing 4 times more of the web than anyone else is a smoking gun.
It feels like it.
I predict we're going to see a massive antitrust lawsuit or regulatory action regarding data scraping rights in the next quarter. The realization is setting in that the open web is closing, and governments are going to realize that one player holds the keys to the entire AI future. The war for data is about to go legal.
Keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you for diving in with us today.
Keep your eyes on the signal, ignore the noise.
See you next time on the Daily Vibecasting.